If people knew how wrong it was to have children but still continue to have children, that would be better than people continuing to have children without knowing how wrong it is. People don't know how wrong it is to have children. Isn't that scary? We're doing something that is wrong and we don't even know that it is wrong. It would be better if we knew that, okay, what we're doing is wrong, but we just want to do it. We just want to do it, but we know that it is wrong. That will make it easy for us to prioritize existing life. But people believe that when they have children, they're doing the right thing. They don't realize that they are bringing people into a world where they have to fend for themselves, where they will have to suffer day and night. Yes, not everyone is suffering and not everyone who's here hates their experience. That is 100% true. But the fact that there are some people who are here who hate their experience means that it is wrong by default. Even if the people who hate their experience because there's something wrong with them, that still means that it is wrong, because it means that we are capable of bringing a life that doesn't want to be here for whatever reason, and that is wrong. Today I'm going to be reacting to one of the best, if not the best, videos that I have ever watched on antinatalism. This video won the 2019 Why I'm an Antinatalist competition. I'm 100% sure you are going to love it. I'll try my best to not pause it. You know, when I'm doing reaction videos, I'm gonna pause every 3 seconds, but this video is so good that I think I mustn't, pause it every 3 seconds, every 20 seconds. I want you to enjoy it as much as I enjoyed it. Thank you.
Hi everyone, in this video I will talk about why I am an antinatalist. This is just my opinion, and I'm not saying that every antinatalist thinks the same way, and if I say something and the shoe doesn't fit, don't wear it. I am directing this video to those who want or wanted to have children, and I am excluding those who don't have access to sex education, birth control, sterilization, legal abortions, or those who have been or are being forced to have children against their will. So let's begin. Antinatalism is a philosophical position that assigns a negative value to birth and therefore is against the reproduction of new human beings. Antinatalists argue that people should abstain from procreating because they consider it to be morally incorrect. I want to clarify that one thing is to not want to continue living once you're already here, and another thing is to wish you were never born, or to be against procreation with the focus on prevention. And for me, this also includes abortion at any point of the pregnancy. But in both cases, prevention or abortion are voluntary. I personally think that under certain circumstances, it's moral for prevention or abortion to be forced or obligatory, but I will not be talking about this today. There are many reasons why I think it's unethical, unnecessary, and harmful for humans to reproduce, and these are just some of them. I am an antinatalist because I don't have the right to impose life on someone else without his consent. I cannot or should not create a being that is going to suffer and die if I can't ask him first if he wishes to have this experience or not.
I like what she said. She said, I'm an antinatalist because I do not have a right to impose life on someone without their consent. She didn't say, you do not have a right. She said, I do not have a right to impose life on someone without their consent. It takes the highest level of awareness to truly understand that. It's like the human mind isn't supposed to be capable of understanding that. You are imposing life on someone without their consent. She understands that fully, and she doesn't want to do that, even though she's able to see that other people are doing that. But she's like, I know that it is wrong and I'm not going to do it. I do not care what my biology says. I do not care how I feel. I do not even care what I want. I just don't want to bring a person into this world without their consent. That's compassion. That's love. That's understanding. That is truth.
It is very clear to me that not because I can or want to give life means that I should give life. Because if that child doesn't want to be here, I won't be able to undo the harm and return him to the void. Perhaps
just because I want to, just because I can, doesn't mean that I should bring a new life into this world. Because if that person that I bring into this world doesn't want to be here, I won't be able to undo the harm. If you had children and your children said, hey, mom, hey, dad, I'm not sure about this. There's something that's off about this place. How do I go back? What do you do? What do you say? He won't be like, oh, I think you need to see a therapist. No, they just don't like it here. See, there's nothing that you'll be able to do. They will be forced to endure their suffering because of you. Because you didn't realize how wrong it was for you to create new life if you did not get consent from it first before creating it. You didn't realize that you cannot get consent from a person before you bring them here, so you brought them here without their consent, and that is why they are going through what they're going through.
many think, well, if it's going to be my child, then it is my choice and therefore my right to have him. But you cannot say it is only your choice when there is going to be someone else involved and or affected by your decision, because you are not making a teddy bear. You are creating a sentient being that didn't ask you to be born and that might hate the lot in life that you gambled for on his behalf. The fact that you are happy with your life does not mean that your kids will or should be happy with theirs.
I love what you said. The fact that you are happy with your life. I'm sorry for posing. Like this is one of the best videos on antinatalism. So I guess I might have to, pause it sometimes, because damn. Just because you love your life does not mean that your child will or should love their life. Like I love that. Because we force people to love life. Like, if you're not happy, it's your fault. If you're not happy, get out and try to do something. Find some hobbies. Try to socialize. Blah blah blah. Like, no, it's not. If a person is not happy, it's not their fault. All right. You cannot blame a person for not being happy. You cannot blame a person for not enjoying their experience. Every person is different. You never know if someone is going to love this society that's kind of like a cult, this society that has rules that everyone must follow, even if they didn't even agree to follow these rules. See, so of course some people are not going to like it here, and some people are going to like it here, because people are different. It's not like once a child is born they're free to live their lives however they want to live their lives. No, they're not.
I think most people give absolute positive value to life, and many times they might deny, disqualify, or not even consider the negative parts of it, or they will count it as something positive. So they conclude that human life and its perpetuation can be seen as a net positive, and therefore they can't understand how anyone can think differently. And if you add to this the beliefs that existence is better than non-existence, or that you must reproduce because it is a divine command, or that children are a blessing and that you won't be fulfilled until you have them, or that life is sacred and prevention, contraception, or abortion are sins or crimes and therefore they must be forbidden, etc., I can understand how difficult it is for some people to see life and its value objectively if they see these beliefs as absolute truths and not simply as popular opinions. When people call us crazy for not wanting to have kids, perhaps it's their own conscience exposing their insanity that they project onto us. Because who is the crazy one? The one who doesn't want to cause unnecessary harm to another? Or the one who deliberately is the direct or indirect cause of suffering and death for someone else?
That's what I'm telling you. The world is upside down. If you're truly going to be sane, people are going to think that you are insane. If you're going to be insane, then people are going to think that you are sane. Because the world itself is like a cult. It's actually a cult. It's just a big cult, and it has cults within it. But we're all forced to think a certain way. If someone thinks differently, then something is wrong with them. But she's right. Who's crazy? Is it the one who doesn't want to cause harm deliberately, or the one who causes harm deliberately because of their own desires? What you must remember is that being an antinatalist doesn't necessarily mean that you do not desire to have children. I want you all to get that. Doesn't necessarily mean that you don't have the desire to procreate. You might still have the desire to procreate, but still be conscious enough to realize that you'll be bringing a new life into a world that it isn't even asked to be brought into. And it is also possible that that life might suffer and you won't actually be able to do anything about their suffering. So a person who thinks like that is totally sane. That is exactly how you must think as a human, even if you want to have children. Even if you are going to have children, that is exactly how you must think. If you're going to convince yourself that you're doing something right by having children and it's your God-given right, you are wrong on so many levels. And that is why many parents don't treat their children the way that they deserve to be treated. Is because they are not aware of the fact that they brought their children into this world without their consent. So they didn't really do them a favor. They did themselves a favor. They're the ones who actually wanted to have children. That is important to understand. That is important to know. And it seems like a lot of people don't know that.
Would think the answer is obvious. There are many people who say that death is a punishment, a curse, or the worst thing that could ever happen to anyone. But if death is so horrible, why do you defend and impose the cause of this supposed evil? For many people, it almost seems as if there is a disconnect. They think that they are only the givers of life and happiness, but they don't seem to understand that with every birth, they are also the givers of suffering and death. Some might say that whatever happens to their children is God's will, but I find it unacceptable to put the blame on imaginary beings for the horrors you inflict on your children.
I love that. Like, oh, it's this imaginary being that's making me do this. Human beings are hypocrites. If right now I decided to believe that there's an imaginary beings that are telling me to do certain things, you know what they'll say? They'll say that I'm crazy. But if many people believe that there's an imaginary being that's telling them to do something, they're not crazy. You see, it seems to me that there's a very thin line between crazy and sane. And the difference is that what people want the truth to be is what is actually popular, and what they don't want the truth to be isn't what's popular. Like, that's actually the line between what is sane, what's crazy, and what's not crazy.
For example, if your child is playing in the middle of the street and a car runs him over and kills him, you might think that this was not your fault because you are not the one who ran him over. And you might even feel like the victim. But you were the one who brought him into this world, knowing very well that this was a possibility. So no, you are not the victim. You are one of the perpetrators. Even though you're not the one giving your kids illnesses or running them over, you are the one putting them in harm's way, so you must take responsibility for that. You cannot take credit for the good without taking responsibility for the bad. That's not how this shit works. Which makes me wonder how many people, before having kids, think about what kind of death their kids can possibly have and how long and painful they can be. Because I find it very foolish to only think about the arrival of a new baby and not also consider the possible quality of his life and of his death. Many people absurdly believe that they have the right or even the duty to create more humans willy-nilly and without restrictions, and they feel extremely proud of it as if it were a great achievement. And they feel like heroes worthy of admiration, praise, and eternal gratitude. For me, reproducing is something that ought to cause shame, not pride, because by doing so, you are showing your senselessness, selfishness, and inability to comprehend that 1, you don't have the right to do so, therefore it is unethical, and 2, that you are bringing a child into this world to suffer and die, and therefore it is malevolent and cruel. I wonder if...
Damn. Now, I'm just pausing this video so that you'll process what she said. Like, this might actually be the best video on antinatalism. I'm telling you. I don't see how a person who's not an antinatalist can watch this video and not understand that what she's saying is true. I do understand that as humans we are very biased, but come on. If you've been trying to convince someone that antinatalism is true, antinatalism makes sense, and they don't believe you, like they feel like you're wrong, show them this video. Don't even send it to them. Show them, like actually show them, and make sure that they're watching it. Because there's no way you can deny the things that she's saying.
If you would place your toddler on a mechanical ride that you know doesn't work properly, where he can die crushed or decapitated, and where nobody comes out of it alive, would it be worth doing so just for the joy both of you might get out of it? If you wouldn't do it, then why do you want to bring him into this world, knowing that this life is this defective ride?
Dude, she's exposing our hypocrisy. Like, she's 1000% right. Because life itself is like a roller coaster, right? And where no one comes out, roller coaster is not that bad, but it's like a roller coaster where no one comes out alive, right? Yes, they're gonna enjoy it, but sometimes they're gonna have these scary moments, and sometimes they might actually say that they wish that they would never put on the ride. So if we wouldn't put our child into a roller coaster where they might actually not like being there, where they're not gonna come out alive, why bring children into this world? Because that's kind of like what we're doing, and that's actually worse. What we're doing is actually worse than putting our child on a roller coaster
where nobody comes out of it alive. Are you going to wash your hands saying that it's just part of life? Or that it's not your fault because your God ordered you to do it? Or that everyone else does it and you want to do the same? What is your excuse? And I say excuse because I don't see a good reason to do so. I think that nature has given us a powerful instinct to perpetuate life because its purpose is reproduction, not the well-being or happiness of anyone. So I feel that through falling in love or through the maternal or paternal instinct, it manipulates us and blinds us to the cruel and savage reality of life. Because if we were truly aware of it, this would keep us from creating more humans, and this is obviously against its purpose.
That is why people who are truly conscious don't want to have children. Like, the more conscious you become, the more you realize how wrong it is to actually have children. I remember when I first started becoming conscious, I knew that it was wrong, but now my level of knowing is on another level. Like, I can't even explain to you how sure I am that it is wrong to have children. Like, I know, but I've known even back then, but I know, because the more conscious I become, the more I realize that, damn, we're just doing what we've been programmed to do, and we turn a blind eye to the consequences of what we've been programmed to do because of what we gain. Nature rewards us, so we turn a blind eye to the consequences of what we're doing. When you have a child, you're gonna have joy. I remember Elon Musk saying something like that, like having a child will make you happy. That is why when animals have an offspring, they become happy. Like, nah, man, it's not what we're talking about. What we're really talking about is the consequences. So yes, it does make you happy. Yes, you do feel joy, but what about the consequences? What about the bad things that can happen? Because if you are truly intelligent, you also have to think of that. You don't just think of what you're going to gain from it. You know what I mean? Like, you must think about what can happen in 10 years, 20 years. That is true intelligence. That is true enlightenment.
Many people have told me, if you say you wish you wouldn't have been born and you don't want to have any kids, it's because you obviously don't know how to live. You are not strong or capable enough to face and handle life and all its challenges. You are a coward, a negative, bitter, ungrateful person that needs psychological help because you are advocating for humanity to go extinct. To me, this would be like telling a slave, if you are unhappy, it's because you obviously don't know how to be a good slave. You are too weak and are unable to handle and make something good out of the injustices, abuse, and beatings you receive from your master. You do nothing but complain and say that you don't want to bring more slaves into this world to suffer just like you. You are so ridiculous and selfish, and you should be grateful to your parents for bringing you into this world, because everyone knows it is far better to exist and be a slave than to never have existed at all.
Damn, who's this lady? Look, if you know her name, please tell me in the comment, because damn.
I hope I made my point clear. I personally see this life as a combination of prison, slavery, torture chamber, and Disneyland. And most people are mesmerized or even hypnotized by the park's beauty, and they don't seem to be bothered one bit by the other three. Many people naively believe that their dreams will come true because they think they have control over their life and the future, so they confidently reproduce, not realizing that this supposed control is an illusion and not reality. So it's hard for me to
it's actually hard for me to post this video because I don't even know what to say. Like, she's saying everything that I would say. Like, she's saying everything that I would say. It's crazy how right she is. Can you imagine her saying what she's saying on TED Talk? I mean, this is like the best speech on YouTube. This is like the best speech on YouTube.
Understand how someone can defend procreation knowing that their wishes, dreams, or good intentions are almost irrelevant, since these are not the ones that are going to determine the happiness, well-being, or quality of life of their child. Because life is unpredictable, and tomorrow you can die and leave your kids homeless or at the care of others that might mistreat, abuse, or even rape them. Or perhaps you might get divorced or become ill or disabled, so you won't be able to care for them like you thought you would. Also, many hope or assume that their kids will be born healthy and strong. But I think that any future parent must consider the problems, illnesses, or disabilities their children might.
I remember when I still wanted to have children, one of my worst fears was having a child that was disabled. And when I would tell people that's one of my worst fears, I realized that they don't realize that that's possible. Like, they just think that, it only happens to some people. It can never happen to them. Whenever I would see a child that's disabled, I would think, damn, like, what if that happens? I would have brought this innocent child into this world, and they're helpless, and they're going to need someone to take care of them forever. What if I'm not going to be there? What if I'm not even going to have enough money? Some people don't think like that. It is scary, man. That is why it makes sense to believe that this is some kind of a prison, because it seems like we're not supposed to be conscious enough to understand simple truth. It's like this realm is against us becoming conscious enough to see things as they really are. So everything must be inverted, so that we don't see the truth. What is actually good is supposed to be seen as evil, and what's actually evil is supposed to be seen as good. That's why some people will say that antinatalists are bad. Antinatalists, like, what? How can you say this woman is bad for what she's saying if it's so true? This is unfalsifiable, right? This is unfalsifiable.
Might be born with or might later suffer from. To begin, he might be premature and be for several weeks or months in an incubator connected to machines with tubes and wires throughout his body, and he might even need one or several surgeries when he is only days, weeks, or months old. Or maybe he is born with one of many types of dwarfism or with a physical deformity that can cause him insecurities, pain, discomfort, or make his life difficult.
You know how we treat people who don't look like we want people to look? Like, if someone is kind of like deformed, we laugh at them. We pretend as if that's their fault. That's what I was saying in the beginning, that we treat people as if they're asked to be here. They're asked to be the way that they are. So you want to bring a child into a world where they can be laughed at for their imperfections? Remember, once you bring them here, they are here. They got to deal with all that. No one really cares. You see, not only will they be laughed at, people ain't going to want to be around them. They probably end up being alone because of you. Because of your selfishness. You knew that was possible the whole time, but you still like, you know what, I'm still gonna gamble. For what? It would be better if you gambled with your own life. Like, if they were able to clone people, and sometimes that didn't really work out, but you said, you know what, I still want to take that risk. There will be no internalists who will be saying you shouldn't do that. Like, do what you want. It's your own life. But if you're going to create this innocent creature that you don't really have power to design. It's not like you design your child, right? It's not like you can design your child, be like, okay, I want my child to be 6'5". I want my child to have this kind of face, this kind of hands. I want my child to be healthy. I want my child to be like, no. You have no power. All you do is just have sex, try to satisfy your desires, and that's it. And then the baby comes out. You don't know how that baby is going to be, So being able to think about what that really means and being conscious enough to understand what that really means, that is enlightenment. That is enlightenment. Like, if there are people who are claiming to be enlightened who don't understand what I'm saying, they're not enlightened. They're not even close. Like, antinatalism is true enlightenment. This is beyond intelligence, because I see that 99% of people just can't understand this. You tell them how wrong it is to have children and still don't understand how wrong it is. Now, there's a difference between knowing how wrong it is but still having children, and actually having children without realizing how wrong it is. People who know how wrong it is and still have children tend to have enough compassion, you know.
Or perhaps your child may be born or become blind, deaf, mute, monoplegic, hemiplegic, or have spina bifida, cerebral palsy, or one of many forms of muscular dystrophy, or have autism.
And it seems like it is very common these days to give birth to a child who's not like really healthy. If you realize that, I think it has to do with the type of foods that we eat, the technology, you know, the cell phones, radiations, and all that. Like, it's much more common now than it was back then. So people gotta think, because that's, you know, that's scary when you think about it.
Down syndrome, hemophilia, Rett syndrome, sleep disorders, Tourette syndrome, juvenile Huntington's disease, Hurler syndrome, epilepsy, harlequin ichthyosis, Sanfilippo syndrome, Batten disease, Charcot-Leving syndrome, progeria, Leigh syndrome, allergies, asthma, etc. Or perhaps he'll suffer an accident that will leave him paraplegic or quadriplegic. Or he might suffer burns that will deform his face or body. Or perhaps because of an illness or accident, they might need to amputate one or several of his limbs. And you will be responsible for each and every one of his ailments, because you are the one who brought him into this world. But don't worry, if your child doesn't have any of the things I just mentioned, perhaps he might be born with or develop a new and incurable disease. And you will have to see him suffer because there will be no way to heal him. But that doesn't matter, of course, because you think it is worth the risk, right? Of course it is. Perhaps many people say, if I have a child with an illness, disability, degenerative disease, etc., I will be okay with that. So if I'm going to be okay with it, then that's all that matters. I wonder how many of you have actually considered how your child is going to feel. How many have asked yourself, will my child be okay with any disorder or disability he may have, or any amount of pain he may have to endure, or because of a handicap, live his entire life completely dependent on me?
It's like humans never think of the consequences of their actions. I remember there's this other comedian, it's just that I forgot his name, but I come across his videos a lot on YouTube. He looks like a woman. He looks like a woman. You probably know him. He's kind of like cute, no homo, but I mean, he looks like a woman. He said, you know, I hate hanging around people with anxiety because they're right. Like, they're actually right. You know, they'll tell you things that you don't even think about, and you'll be like, whoa, actually they're right. I don't know how I didn't think about that. It seems like people just don't think about the consequences of their actions, don't think about the dangers, you know, that can happen. Like, it's like people just think about what they want. This is what I want, that's it. I don't think about, oh, what can possibly go wrong. And because of that, they don't even do enough to actually prevent, you know, bad things from happening.
Do you think it's just about what you want, think, and feel, and not about what he may want, think, and feel? Or do you absurdly assume that regardless of the circumstances in his life, he will or should be grateful to be alive?
Yeah, that's how parents think. Like, a child must be grateful. Oh, why can't you be grateful? Look at all the things that I have done for you. Look at all the sacrifices that I've made for you. So you should be grateful. Why can't you be grateful? You see, some parents will even talk about their children. Tell their friends, oh, my child, you know, I did this for them, blah, 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 but they're still ungrateful. They're still depressed. They don't want to do anything. Like, hey, it's all of that is your fault. It's nobody else's fault. It's 100% your fault. You're the one who decided to create a new human, knowing that it is also possible that that new human might not like the experience. They might end up, you know, becoming depressed. They might end up not wanting to do anything at all, not wanting to go to school, you know, just because you know, children their age want to go to school and they're doing well at school, doesn't mean that your child is going to want to go to school and they'll do well at school. You see, you knew that it's possible beyond any reasonable doubt. I mean, maybe some of you just don't think, who knows. But I mean, if you did think like you needed to think, you would know that it's also possible that you might have a child that's gonna be, you know what I mean, like that's gonna not want to go to school, and that's not gonna want to do the things that you want, that's not gonna want to play by your rules. So why complain as if you didn't know that that was possible? Like, you must be ready for anything. If you're going to take an action knowing the consequences, then you must be ready for the consequences, because you know that the consequences are possible. It's like if you decide to gamble, if you lose your money, you don't scream and start, you know what I mean, start tearing your clothes off, stabbing yourself. Like, no, it's all cool, it's all good. You don't even, you know, you don't even show any emotions. You knew that that was possible. You don't even think about it. You're like, oh, I lost. Cool. There's nothing to complain about. I knew exactly what I was getting myself into. I knew that it was possible for me to lose.
But they act like everything is okay because they don't want to make their parents feel guilty, or they don't want to be called ungrateful, or deal with the criticism of those who think they are delirious and need to see a psychiatrist for thinking this way. If you think that life is wonderful, good for you. But perhaps your children might not share that sentiment, nor do they have to. I get the impression that many future parents stupidly believe they'll be able to solve any problems that might arise, knowing very well that many won't have a solution, instead of focusing on preventing them. For these people,
it kills me when she says, you know, many of them will not have a solution. Like, you know, if their children face real problems, like, don't have like solutions. It's not like if your child becomes sick, you will like really have a solution. You just take your child to the doctor, and you know, most parents don't really have that much money to really, you know, take care of their sick children. So really, we don't have solutions. Like, you remember when in 2020 what happened? We didn't have the solution. We just waited on people who actually have power to come up with solutions, and they started doing this to us. Like, you don't have control. You don't know what's gonna happen tomorrow. You don't know what's gonna happen in 20 years. You don't know the challenges that the future generation is going to face. You don't know. Maybe some aliens are gonna come into this planet and take everyone and imprison them some way and torture them. Who knows? Anything is possible. We don't understand what this world is. You know, you gotta keep that in mind. We don't really have an idea what this is. All of us are just wandering around, pretending to know what's going on, and doing what you know, people in the past were doing.
Prevention sounds completely ludicrous instead of logical. Many never stop to think if it's a good idea or even moral to reproduce. They just assume they should, so they do. Another reason why I am against natalism is because many people, due to physical, mental, emotional, financial, or other issues, clearly should not have children. Many don't have the slightest idea how to educate them so that these people benefit society instead of being a burden or a menace to it. And also because many parents are abusive or irresponsible, and their children end up suffering greatly because of it. Many people think that the only requirements to having children is to be able to create them and that they don't starve to death. But other than that, they don't really care about your safety, your physical, mental, or emotional health, your sex education, or your personal and social responsibilities. Many don't teach you to be polite, helpful, considerate, kind, honest, humble, patient, tolerant, trustworthy, punctual, clean, organized, disciplined, to be a good listener and a good communicator, and to respect the body, the space, the belongings, and the rights of others.
The fact that this video has like less than 4,000 views is one of the best reasons to be an antinatalist. A video full of truth has less than 4,000. Kevnet, you asked me if there wasn't like a video about antinatalism without curse words, but that's like really straightforward. This one is not that short because you wanted a video that's short, but I'm telling you, this is the video, man. This is the video to send every person that you want to send. Like, this is it right here. The lady is speaking the truth. She's not complaining, she's not crying, she's just telling it like it is. Any person with a mind that actually works will understand what she's saying. There's nothing to disprove here. There's nothing. Like, I don't care who you are. I don't care how intelligent you think you are. I don't care if you are Elon Musk. I don't care if you are Peterson. I don't care if you are Harris. There's not, like, you just gotta listen. In fact, I'm doing something wrong by commenting on what she's saying, because hey, she's just speaking the truth. And I think that's one of the reasons why I don't like really comment on what she's saying. I'll just pause a video and say what I gotta say, because what she's saying is true. It's like she's saying everything that I would say.
Your child is born without most of these qualities, so you have to almost forcefully turn him into something that he is not. And nothing guarantees that you will achieve it, because he's still an animal no matter what, and because you don't have control over the future nor the influence that others will have over him. I also believe that many people are unhappy and unfulfilled, and they have kids because they think this will give them joy, without considering that perhaps nature has programmed that need and emptiness in us in order to continue reproduction. And many end up realizing that this was nature's trap and that it was a mistake having children. But even when having a child will give you happiness, if he is miserable or suffering, I ask if it was fair to bring him into this world only to satisfy your selfish needs and to fill your emptiness. I think many parents want to ignore the problems, misery, or pain of their kids because acknowledging it would make them realize that they are the ones to blame, and they rather continue living in denial of the great harm they have caused them. Or they rather put the blame on the Lord, other people, or fate.
The devil, not just the Lord, the devil, you know what I mean? The devil is used as a scapegoat. I mean, if there's an imaginary being that deserves our empathy, is the devil, man. Like, he's been blamed for a lot of things. Like, it's crazy.
But take responsibility for it. I'm against procreation because there is a high possibility that the life of any new being will have or be full of pain, suffering, dissatisfaction, stress, hunger, anxiety, anguish, instability, loneliness, sadness, depression, rejection, guilt, shame, regret, troubles, tragedies, discrimination, injustice, abuse, etc. But it seems that people...
What's the opposite of that? And is it worth it? Like, what are the positive things? Because she's mentioned a lot of negative things, but what are the positive things that you'll say, oh yeah, well, even if there's these negative things that my child can deal with, but here are the positive things. What are those positive things? What? Love. Remember, if your child's gonna deal with those kind of things, chances are they're not even gonna find love. You know what I mean? Success, chances are they're not even gonna be successful. They're not even going to be treated well by other people. Like, they just have to, this will be hell for them if they have these problems that she's mentioning. And the messed up thing is that a lot of people actually have to deal with the problems that she's mentioning. A lot of people are anxious, they got depression, they got what people call mental illnesses, they're poor, they don't have what they want, things are just not working out for them. And that causes a ripple effect. Like, if you are depressed, for an example, it's going to be hard for you to socialize, right? It's going to be hard for you to find a job that you want. it's going to be hard for you to make money. It's a ripple effect. So you find yourself in this bubble of hellish experiences, because of causality, because of the butterfly effect,
People justify the continuation of this irrational and painful vicious cycle of life because they think it's necessary or because they expect that the good that comes out of it will be worth it. I assume that many people have kids because they think they have good lives or that they're not too bad. But I don't think that they actually have good lives. I think they just spend their life waiting for them to get better. They spend their time dreaming and hoping that they will be happy in the future. Or they think...
Remember what I told you about optimism and pessimism? That if people actually were told right now that, hey man, you're gonna have to live your life backwards. Like, you're gonna have to experience the things that you've experienced in the past. Like, a lot of people will be like, no. You see, what keeps them going is optimism. Like, they're optimistic. Like, okay, things are gonna work out. Things might be bad right now, but things are gonna work out in the future. But things don't usually work out. At age 20, I was like, nah, I'm good. At age 30, bro, like, 8 out of bed, I'm gonna be having all that I want, man. I'm gonna be living in a nice house, been driving the dopest car, and all. Like, it's optimism, I think the same. At the age of 40, I think I'm gonna be having everything that I want, but chances are I won't be having the things that I want. It seems like I have to be optimistic to keep on going, because if I'm gonna be truly pessimistic, then I won't be able to, to keep pushing. But if I'm going to be optimistic and keep on dreaming and keep on, wishing that great things can happen in my life, then I will have the energy to keep on going. But if we were to live our life backwards, if we were to know, and this is another thing that's important, if we were to know how our lives are going to be, like, if you were to know how your life is going to be from now on, you probably wouldn't be happy. If you are happy, you'd be like, what? So I'm gonna have to go through that, and it'll be over? Nope.
That if they're not happy in this life, they might be happy in the next one. But if they were honest and would look at their life for what it really is and not for what they wish it will be, they would see it's not that great. And that they've been distracted from their misery or unhappiness, wishing and hoping that tomorrow might be better. But not only in most cases will it not be better, but it will actually get worse, because sooner or later, illness, old age, and death will come. To me, the people that want to justify natalism and suffering are people who want to justify the unjustifiable. They want to give value and meaning to what has none. They consider those who overcome the most suffering and tragedies as exemplary beings worthy of admiration. And they see as virtue the sadistic perpetuation of this suffering with every new birth. I am not going to have a child knowing that he can spend all or most of his life suffering or dealing with physical, mental, or emotional pain, and that he can die of cancer or diabetes, heart attack, natural disaster, Alzheimer's, pneumonia, AIDS, anorexia, hepatitis, cirrhosis, overdose, starvation, car accident, or he can drown or be murdered, poisoned, or burnt to death, or be kidnapped and tortured, etc., etc. For me, nothing justifies bringing a child into this world to suffer unnecessarily. Nothing. And it's not just about the pain this child will have to endure, but I also must take into consideration all the harm and pain that he will cause and inflict on others. Because someone is giving birth to the criminals, rapists, serial killers, bullies, animal eaters, and abusers, corrupt politicians.
Damn. Somebody's giving birth to all these people that we hate. To all these people that we feel like deserve to die, be like, oh yeah, that person should get a death penalty. Someone gave birth to those kind of people. It's not like they were created in a lab. Someone gave birth to them believing that they were giving birth to people who are going to become productive members of society. Damn.
etc. And I'm not interested in being that someone. I think that humans have a huge flaw. When we see something negative or unpleasant, we tend to think, that will never happen to me or to my children, as if we knew that.
Alright guys, just go and watch the rest of the video. I'm gonna post the link in the description. Thank you.